welcome back to another episode of whatever the fuck we can call it. So last week on the channel, I made a video and I also turned it into a podcast of me detailing some of the struggles that I've been going through here recently. And, you know, like I said previously in that video, there's no way that I could bullshit you guys and do a Music Monday. I love doing Music Mondays. I love reviewing music. It's definitely been one of the brighter spots on this channel. But I think sometimes it's okay to switch things up and to keep it real with you guys. And so for this week, so today I'm recording this video on March 20th, Sunday, and I will release it tomorrow on March 21st, which is a Monday. And March 21st just so happens to be your boy's birthday. I thought it would be cool. I kind of had this idea come to me last night. So back on January 17th of this year, in my journal, I wrote a 25 list, and it was 25 things that I've learned in my 25 years of living. And I thought it would be cool for me to go through this list of 25 things and maybe kind of give you guys a backstory or explain each and every point. Some of them are, you know, funny ones, like little jokes that I wrote in there, but a lot of these are serious. These are lessons that I've learned. These are things that have changed, or what I look at now in life differently as opposed to how I would have looked at things when I was 18 years old. So I figured it would be cool because this video, like I said, is getting dropped tomorrow on my birthday when I turn 25. So I'm gonna give you guys some insight into what I've learned, 25 things I've learned in the 25 years I've been living on this earth. Without further ado, we're gonna get into it. Number one, you can't change other people. This seems pretty self-explanatory. If you reach a certain age, if you're a mature person, you are going to learn this lesson at some point in your life. I think the moment that I learned this lesson was in a relationship that I went through it spanned from the years of 2017 to the year of 2019. And I'm not going to throw this person under the bus if she ever happens to check out my YouTube videos and sees this. It was definitely the most brutal relationship that I had ever been through, and had really sent me into a deep spiral. It was at the point where I first acknowledged that I needed to take care of my mental health. And I realized in that relationship, you know, there was so much that I was trying to do to change who she was, to fit my mold, to fit what I wanted out of her. And this is where real maturity comes in. So even though I could look back, especially when I first got out of the relationship, and say, oh, she fucked me over, this is her fault, this is the entire reason that we didn't work out, which a lot of that is very much true. But one of the things that I could identify, what I learned from that relationship, is, okay, even despite all those things happening, all those negative aspects of her and her upbringing that she brought on to me, well, for one, I stayed with her for that long, so I had to be crazy enough to do that. But I tried to change her a lot when I was in that relationship with her. And I realized, I don't know if it was in the relationship when it was still going on or if it was afterwards, but you reach a point where I realized that there was so much resistance in that relationship. And a lot of that resistance, I think, came from the fact that I was trying to change her or fix her or save her. And it was just kind of an eye-opening experience. Like, I got my fucking ass kicked. And like I said, that was probably the most traumatic relationship that I had ever been through. It, you know, it really sent my mental health into a deep state of emergency. But I learned that I cannot change other people. And so that I think, you know, that was a big lesson that I had to learn. I had to go through that pain. I had to experience that heartbreak to come out of it on the other side and experience, you know, that lesson. But number two, Authenticity frees up social anxiety. So, this one I have experienced in flurries and flutters. I don't have it all the time, but I remember specifically last year in the summer, ironically, after I went through another breakup with a person I shall not name, I definitely struggled there for a second, but after that breakup took place, sorry, you guys are gonna hear my cat right now. He took a shit. He took a shit or a piss in his litter box, and now he's pretending like he's in the Olympics and he's fucking scratching everything. After I went through that breakup, I really got a lot of things in alignment. I changed a lot of my habits. I changed my coping mechanisms to deal with the stress and the anxiety and all the underlying emotions that came with a breakup like that. And I really just started to change myself. I got very uncomfortable, and a lot of change happened to me after that point in time. And what I realized is I started to be like, I don't know how this whole process worked, but for some reason I stumbled upon this idea and started acting this way day to day throughout all my interactions with people at work, all those sorts of things. I became more authentic, and I would do my best to be myself around other people, to really express myself. And I noticed that in the moments where I was being authentic, which I think I'm a very authentic person. I don't think I'm ever lying to you guys or trying to lie to you guys. But I mean, like when I'm truly, when I lean into that feeling of being authentic and expressing myself to other people and not really worrying about what they think, I noticed this same thing happen every time. A lot of my social anxiety that gets created around other people would fall away when I was truly tapped into expressing myself. And so it's a very freeing feeling. I kind of miss it because, like I said, it comes in waves. I don't have that happen every single day. I struggle back and forth with social anxiety and anxiety in general. And again, I kind of mentioned that in the last video, kind of said all of my issues. Again, not to play victimhood, but yeah, those are things that I've struggled with my entire life. And I realized last summer that, like, when you're truly, and it's weird because it's something that you have to tap into, and it's like a perishable skill. So if you're not constantly working on being courageous and speaking your truth and things that you're afraid to say to other people, that skill goes away. It's something that you have to work on constantly every single day. You cannot let that shit fall. So that's something that I've been thinking about here recently. But anyways, that's number 2. Number 3, the Miami Dolphins will not win a Super Bowl in my lifetime. So, like I said, some of these are kind of going to be jokes that I thought of. But yeah, I've been a Miami Dolphins fan essentially my entire life. I got that from my dad, Fred Poots, who's a longtime Miami Dolphins fan. And thank you, Fred, for giving me and my brother, our family, us boys, a really shitty team to cheer on. Yeah, I mean, they've been good here and there over the past 10 years, but there's been a lot of mediocre seasons, a lot of 8-8 seasons, and I really truly feel like in my lifetime I'm never going to see the Miami Dolphins win a Super Bowl. I got really lucky because for baseball, I'm a Chicago Cubs fan, and they won the World Series back in 2016, so I kind of got lucky with that. But I've always liked football. I've enjoyed and followed football more as a sport, more so than I have baseball or basketball over the years. So I think like my favorite team of all time of any sport, like the one that I'm most dedicated to following and watching, is the Miami Dolphins in the NFL. And I don't know, man. They have to do a lot. They had a chance over these last few years. They've been building a pretty good team, and they almost made the playoffs 2 years ago. And then this year, this last season that they had, they were 1-7, but they won 7 games in a row, and they finished 9-8, and they were pretty close to making the playoffs. And then they fired their head coach after building 2 winning seasons back to back, which hasn't happened in a long fucking time. So I don't understand why you would fire your head coach that gave you 2 pretty good seasons and has been building a pretty good culture down in Miami. So again, this one's kind of a joke, but the Miami Dolphins, I believe, will not win a Super Bowl in my lifetime. Number 4, confidence is something that you must earn. This one, trying to think of how this one came about. It's probably come about in the last year or so. Again, after I made those changes after that breakup I went through last May, I realized that a lot of the confidence that all of us are looking for, we think that it can come from buying certain things, material items, purchasing new shoes. We look at it from an external point of view, which, like, some of that stuff can give you a temporary sense of confidence, but it's nothing that's going to last. Like, I see, and I'm not trying to knock on the girls here, but there is a lot of girls out there, my age, younger, that generation, they try and get their confidence from posting pictures on social media, which really I think they're just trying to get attention from thirsty fucking dudes. But that sort of confidence that you get from that, making yourself feel good, it's not a way to actually make the confidence last. Confidence is kind of going back to my earlier point about authenticity and something that you have to work on and build as a perishable skill. Confidence comes from, at least I believe, confidence is something that you have to earn. So, like, on this YouTube channel, for instance, I've been making videos and podcasts, music reactions, all that stuff since early 2020. And, like, there have been moments, and I don't know if you guys can see it, you probably can't, but there's been a lot of videos that I've made where I felt like they were stupid or they were duds or I felt awkward or weird or, just the way that I was presenting myself to you guys. And, I've been doing it consistently. Like, I haven't missed a week of posting, not this entire year at all. I've posted every Monday to start 2022, and we're like 2/3 of the way through March. So I've built up that confidence because I said I was going to do something, and I've done it. So I'm keeping promises to myself. I'm delivering on those promises each and every day. And after you do that enough times, like, you're going to gain some momentum and you're going to put some confidence into your confidence bank account, essentially. Like, if you're doing these things on a consistent basis, you're going to feel pretty fucking good about yourself, and you're going to feel pretty fucking good about what you've accomplished and, where you're at. And that's, kind of going back to from last week, I was talking about 75 hard there briefly. Like, that's the idea of going on 75 hard, doing all those things for 75 days in a row with no compromises. Like, that builds up your confidence a lot in 2.5 months. So it's something that you have to earn with anything that you're doing. That could be from, if you're trying to create a new habit, or you're getting on YouTube, making YouTube videos, or, playing the guitar. If it's the first time that you played guitar ever in your life, you're not going to be very confident about it. But if you've been playing solidly, practicing for 6 months, you're going to be more confident than you were on that first day. So, like, that just goes as said. I think that's an easy one for everyone to grasp. Number 5, friends come and go. Also very self-explanatory. If you're a mature, wise person with some age under you, I think you're going to realize that friends come and go. Like, it's just a byproduct of life. Like, people that you hung out with 5 years ago, even if it was temporary or long-term, you might not be hanging out with now. Or, like, even some of the friends that I have at this moment that I've had for years, we're still friends, but we don't hang out as much as we used to. And I even had a situation last night where all my friends got together and they went out to downtown Des Moines to drink, and I got off work at 10 o'clock at night, and I was thinking in my head, like, there's no way that I'm gonna make it down there because, like, it's just too late. And, really, I mean, I like to go out every once in a while and have a drink, but I'm not a big partier. And I'm like, I know that if I go out, then I'm going to have to stay out for a few hours, and that's going to be past my bedtime. It's just not going to make sense. So, yeah, like, I don't know how I'm trying to relate this to the subject. They are my friends, but we don't hang out as much as we used to. But I think, some of the reasons why you lose those friends as you get older is, like, your interests change. You change as a person. And for me personally, I'm not trying to throw any of my prior friends or the friends that I have now under the bus. I think they're all great people. But you just have different interests as you get older. And I feel like by what I sacrifice now in my mid-20s, what I don't want to do is go out and party and do those things. And it's not like my friends do that all the time, but I'm making sacrifices. I'm making sacrifices now to set myself up for the future. And that's just where you and your friends will differ. And by a product of that, you're going to lose some of your friends because you're like, fuck, I don't want to go do that shit anymore. And again, I want to clarify to all my friends out there if they watch this video, I don't think that's not what I'm saying about you guys. I'm just saying that's what happens as you get older. You make different decisions, you change, you evolve, you grow, and naturally, you're just going to have to cut some people off, people that are holding you back. I mean, I've had my fair share of friends that, weren't helping themselves, and I just had to let go. And even some of them now, they may not make the best decisions, and so I have to take them in small doses. I can't be around them all the time because it's just not smart, because the people that you surround yourself with, that's your environment. That will shape and mold who you are and how you react to things based on the people that you're surrounding yourself with. So, number 6, patience is an ally. I've realized more specifically over the course of probably ever since September of last year, of 2021 until this point. Like, I had a very, very slow winter here in Iowa, and I don't know, like in the beginning it kind of took a toll on me, but as time went on, I realized the utility in being patient and letting things come to you. And where I really started to see this unfold was in the beginning of January, when the new year started and I got COVID, and I had to sit in my apartment there for like 5 or 6 days. And in the beginning I was like, oh my God, like this is gonna make me super fucking depressed because I can't go out and do things, even though I still did go out and do things. But like go out and take a walk, or like if I went to the gym, I would just be on the track by myself. Yeah, so in the beginning of having COVID, I was like, dude, this really fucking sucks. But then at some point I learned to appreciate it, because it gave me time to kind of like internally rest my mind and then also my body from having COVID, even though it only fucked with me for one day. But it was actually a really good period in time, because I got to isolate and, kind of just embrace being alone. I think so many people are afraid of being alone, but just as time went on, I realized it was a good thing to be alone, and it was a good thing to be patient with all that stuff, because then what resulted afterwards in the month of February and March, February is when I got into a relationship, and I didn't even really try for it. Like, it just kind of fell into my lap. And then somewhere in February or early March, I got an email from a guy that owns a gym up in Norwalk and was asking me if I had any interest in being a personal trainer. And so, like, I'm still kind of in the stages of interviewing for that job. But what I'm trying to say is, from my stance of religion and being patient and waiting for good things to come, putting in the work every single day, you reap what you sow. So, like, the amount of work that you put in, but just being patient, consistently attacking each and every day and all the items that you have to accomplish on your to-do list. Like, I think God is watching. I think God is watching and is going to reward you at the right time. So it was kind of a slow season for me from like September all the way to January, where there wasn't much going on. I felt like I wasn't accomplishing much. I mean, I was doing the 75 hard, and that was good for me, but it's all about patience. So putting in the work, for 2, 3, 4 months, finally, now that spring is coming out, like, I had these good things happen to me, getting into a relationship, getting a new job offer to get out of my current job situation that I don't like that much. So all in all, what I'm trying to say is patience is an ally. Like, we as humans get so forward thinking, and obviously we're always looking towards the future, or we're thinking about the past. That's why it's so hard to be in the present moment. But we always want to obtain something. We always want to get something. But if you have patience and know that it's going to come in due time, it's just so much better. It brings such a calm space to your mind, where you're not attached to anything. You're not needy about anything. You're not trying to get anything. You're just there. You're appreciating what you're doing that day, and you know that it's going to add up over time. Like compound interest. So that's why I say patience is an ally. And if you guys could initiate more patience into your life, I think it would benefit you a lot. Number 7, limiting the things you try to control in your life ironically gives you more control over your life. So, as me being an OCD person, I latch on to trying to get so much control into my life. And there are a lot of things that you can control in your day-to-day life, but simultaneously, on the flip side of that coin, there's a lot of things that you cannot control. And so what I've noticed in my mental health journey and just my progression as a human, the more that I'm trying to control things, the more that I'm putting pressure on myself, the more that I'm trying to get, like I said earlier with the patience thing, like trying to get a result, the more ironically, the more I feel out of control. When you're trying to put so much control on your life, when really there's just a lot of things that you can't control, this is a weird paradox. You try to control your life, and life is like, hey, fuck you. You can't control me. I have found that out time and time again. Going back to my first point, you can't change other people. The more that you try and do something, the more that you try and change that person, the more you're going to get resistance. So it's weird, man. It's like as soon as you let go of those things, you feel more in control. You feel more calm. You feel more at peace. You feel more just secure in yourself. So that's a really interesting one. There's a few points in my life where I could highlight that, but I feel like if I really try and dive into all 25 of these, I'm never going to get them done. So I'm going to just keep going. Number 8, results don't show up without consistent work. This goes back to the confidence thing. People are very narrow-minded, very short-sighted. They want results right away. We've been conditioned to get instant gratification from our phones, from instantly messaging each other, from looking at porn, playing video games, all those sorts of things. And for all that to be said, the way that life actually works is, you don't get those monumental changes in progress and results unless you're fucking working hard at what you're trying to do for, sometimes you might not crack at what you're trying to accomplish for years. I mean, I could say that about this fucking YouTube channel. I've been doing it for 2 years and I don't even have 100 subscribers, man. And like that can be very discouraging sometimes. But I think what a lot of people don't realize is when you're taking on any endeavor like that, anything you're trying to change in your life, whether it be lose weight, like, dude, like it takes time. It's consistency. Like you have to show up all the time if you want to make those results. And it's very discouraging because all of us would say logically, rationally, like, hey, like I would like to change this shit right away. I would like to not be an anxious person by tomorrow. It's not like that, man. It's like you got a lot of work to do. There's a lot of things that have to change, and you're gonna face adversity. You're gonna face challenges along the way. So even your plan is not gonna be 100% bulletproof. You're gonna have to fucking adjust that shit a million times over to get to where you want to go. And then inside of all that frustration and that pain and that overthinking, you still got to be consistent even when you don't feel like it. So that, again, I think that's one that speaks for itself. Number 9, nobody cares about your problems, work harder. This was a hard one to swallow. I really learned this from my mentor, Matt Maggio, when I was doing an internship with him. And him and I would, outside of the work that we were doing together, there would be a lot of times where we would sit down and we would just talk. And one of the prevailing themes that always came up when him and I were talking, and he's like, and I want to say, with Matt, he's a very hard-nosed, aggressive person, but there were moments where he would sit there and listen to me and let me talk about my issues and stuff like that. And I want to preface, I feel like it is healthy to talk about your problems, especially with people that, you trust, and when you talk to them, you feel like you're heard. I think that's very important. You need to have a circle of people that you trust and can open up about that shit too. But if you're constantly, like if you make a habit out of complaining about your situation or what's going on, it never really solves the problem. It actually makes things so much worse. And so that's where this idea comes from. Nobody cares about your problems, work harder. Everybody in this world has problems. You are not special. You are not unique. You are not a snowflake. Me included, everybody else that watches this video, all of us have problems. That is your birthright when you come into this world, is you are going to have problems at almost every point in your life. You just want to get better at solving problems. And as you get older and you get more wise and mature, you want to have better problems that are fulfilling problems that you can solve and that you can conquer and that you can get over. So don't complain about your issues, work harder. Now, again, as I said before, that does not mean you shouldn't vent about your issues. If you don't get that shit out of your head, it's going to get stuck in your fucking head. So you have to talk about it. But just be self-aware to notice when you're complaining or you're being a little bitch and you're not really, like, you're complaining but you're not doing anything to solve the problem. That's essentially what I'm saying. Like, there is a healthy amount of venting, but if you get into a habit of talking about your issues all the time, all you're really doing is complaining, and people don't want to be around that energy, dude. That's toxic energy, negative energy. Nobody wants to be around that. Number 10, obstacles help you improve and create resiliency. Something that I had to learn, again, over the last year, and I'm not perfect with this one. I used to have a really bad approach to, like, my problems in my life, and I would maybe not so much take the victim mentality, but just have a really weak mindset about handling my issues. But what I've realized over the last year, any amount of hardship, adversity, anything that you're going through, even setbacks with my mental health, going back to the video I made last week and how tough things have been for the last 2 or 3 weeks off and on, those setbacks and those moments and the hardest shit that I've ever gone through in my life have created and molded and shaped the person that I am. Of course, it brings about trauma and triggers and anxieties and worries and structures of the brain and thought patterns that I have to deconstruct as I get older. But it shaped me into the person that I am. So the person that you see on this video talking to you guys and all the aspects about me that you like and the reason that you come back and watch these videos comes from all those hardships. All those times where I didn't think I was strong enough to get through it, but I prevailed. So obstacles help you improve and create resiliency. That's the mindset that you should have to your problems. And it's not that easy. Us humans, we're not perfect. We get very discouraged and very overwhelmed and upset with all the stress going on in our lives. But that's the way to approach it. That's the way that you get stronger. If you didn't know how to deal, by not knowing how to deal with your emotions and having emotional issues over time, makes you better at handling your emotions. You need some force in your life to push against you to get better in that area, to test you mentally. So honestly, problems are worth having. Obstacles and struggles are worth going through because it makes you more resilient, it makes you more tough. Things that I used to struggle with years ago probably are like not even a blimp on my radar anymore. Number 11, God works in mysterious ways. I became religious last year, again, kind of right after that point of the breakup that happened in May, and subsequently what followed is I started praying to God, and the rest is history. After I really delved into my spiritual and religious side, I saw the benefits of what God could bring to my life. And so, we think that we have our life planned out in a certain way, and I think God will sometimes completely throw you a curveball, and you don't really know the reason why in the moment, but after you get through tough situations and you have that retrospect to look back, you're like, so God put me through that to learn that lesson, and put me in that job to get that knowledge and that expertise before I went on to the next thing. God works in mysterious ways. I can't explain it, and if you're not religious, that's cool, but that's my viewpoint on it, is you never really know what he's doing behind the scenes, and you never really know until, again, maybe you get older and you have more knowledge and expertise and you really know who you are. You don't know why certain things happen in your life. You have to derive that meaning for yourself. And for me, I found it's a lot easier and alleviates a lot of that anxiety by believing in that, believing in God, believing in religion, that he has a plan and he puts me through all these situations and all these tests to come out on the other side and have a different perspective and, be a more complete person for going through that thing. Number 12, solitude is strength. I very much love having alone time as I've gotten older. I used to think that I was always an extrovert, and I definitely think that I have extroverted tendencies. But as I've gotten older, and especially ever since moving into this apartment that I've been living in for a year and a half, almost 2 years, I've spent so much more time alone, and it's been a big benefit to me because in society, we have so many people that hanker for attention, like I said, like girls that are posting provocative pictures on social media to get likes and attention. But there are people that think that they can't ever be alone. They have to be in a relationship at all times, and they never allow themselves to really like sit inside that uncomfort and grow and be okay with being alone, having a good time by yourself, which I think everybody needs to learn, because if you don't love yourself, you can never be in a relationship. Again, a very big cliche, but it's so true. So I think solitude is strength. I mean, having all that time alone, you can really start to work through a lot of your problems, and you can see your thought patterns and how unproductive they are. So I learned that a lot, I would say, over the last 2 years, ever since I got my apartment, and it's been a blessing. 13, say less when around others. This is one that I learned at COC, the job that I'm still currently working at. It happened last summer. I had this experiment. I was like, because I work with a lot of frustrating employees, and my people support, it can get on my nerves a lot. And because I've struggled over the years with being a people pleaser, I tend to respond right away. And so I ran this experiment of just kind of being quiet and observing other people and seeing what's going on. And it's so helpful. Like when I'm actually doing a really good job with this principle, a lot of the anxiety goes away because you don't have to respond right away to people. You don't always have to constantly say yes. You can start out by saying no. And I don't know, it worked for me a lot last summer. Like, I don't know why, but I caught on to this idea, and it helped me out so much. It made me feel so comfortable at my job. Like I said, my job sometimes can be very high stress, working with shitty employees, terrible management, and taking care of people supported is a lot of strain on your emotions and your feelings. But when this principle was really working for me, I realized, like, when you say less around other people and you don't have to expose your ideas and how you feel, you let other people essentially show their cards right away. You see their motives. Because I would see people that normally when I'm around them, they'd be talking shit about certain employees, but then when we all worked together, they were like all of a sudden buddy with those employees, and I'm like, okay, wow, you're very two-faced, and like, okay, I can't share certain information with you like I thought I could. And I think, like I said, solitude is a strength. Being quiet, being alone, saying less around others. If you really hone in on this aspect, you're comfortable being yourself, and you don't have to talk and over-explain yourself and explain yourself to people for why you're doing certain things and what your motivations are. You're secure in yourself. You let other people talk. You let them get all their points out there, and then you gather all that information and then respond to what they said. And this, again, I'm human, so I'm not perfect at this, but if you're working on this thing and you get very good at it, I'm telling you what, man, it's a game changer. Oh my gosh, I might have to make this into 2 videos. It's taken so long. Number 14, 2020 opened my eyes as to who I could and could not trust, mainly because of the pandemic. I'm going to be very fucking blunt here right now, and I don't care if you people don't agree with me. If you do agree with me, 2020 opened my eyes on when people took sides on the whole COVID pandemic. And again, I don't care what your view is, but I think it was a ploy to destroy society and to create division amongst people, because at one point in the media and all the people that are on the left and they're considered woke, they were looking at people that were unvaccinated and they were essentially calling them fucking Nazis and saying that they needed to be put in camps. And now all of a sudden, after 2 years, we just completely forget that COVID was a thing, and we're moving on to this conflict out in Russia. And people think that there's no coincidence that our government is tyrannical and they're trying to cover up their tracks, because if the information got out about what they have done and what they have lied about for the last 2 years, that would essentially cost them their fucking job, and they would never be able to work in our government again. So 2020 as bad as there was all this division and all this hate and all this issue and this backlash from COVID and all these different issues that we've been arguing about for the last two fucking years, it exposed the corruption. It exposed how people think, mainly in my family too. There are some people that I don't even associate with anymore because of their views. And I know that sounds really bad because you need to talk to people that you disagree with, but some of those people that you disagree with, they won't even listen to your side. And it's like, dude, what the fuck? Like, you are so brainwashed. You have no critical thinking skills. You absorb everything that the media says. It's been proven that the media has lied so much over the last 2 years and even before that. And yet you think that they're telling you the truth about Russia and Ukraine? No, dude. Like, it's just crazy how quick people are willing to jump. But to that point, 2020 opened my eyes about who I could trust and who I could not. There's certain people I don't associate with anymore that I was before. And it has made my life so much less complicated. Sorry, I had to go on a rant there. I'm trying to go through this, but explain each and every bullet point. 15, boundaries, to me, feel like going to war. Being a people pleaser, it's been so hard for me to set boundaries over the course of my entire life. When I'm trying to set boundaries with a person, it feels like I'm going to war because it's been so hard for me to say no to people and to hurt people's feelings, especially people that, you know, have a good heart. But you have to do it, man. You have to set boundaries with people. They're going to respect you more because you know who you are. You have a strong frame. There's certain things that you're just not willing to put up with. You need to develop that if you want to go anywhere in life. Number 16, circumstances will never be perfect. I'm a perfectionist. Raise your hand if you're a perfectionist. Now, I'm not a perfectionist in the sense of I create a video, or back when I was in college and I did an assignment or typed a paper, it didn't have to be perfect for me to turn it in. My perfection comes from, I have so much self-criticism on myself. I'm a very ambitious person. I overthink. So naturally, like, I'm just trying to be perfect. I'm trying to get things right. I'm trying to do the right thing. And that affects my social anxiety when I'm talking to people because I think things got to be perfect. And it fucks with my thought process. It's even come out on these videos because I try and say the perfect thing, but perfection is an illusion. It's an illusion. It's not real. It doesn't exist. We're all imperfect human beings, but that's so hard for a perfectionist to grasp. Circumstances will never be perfect, so you just got to get going. You just have to realize that. You have to realize that nothing is perfect, so might as well get going. Might as well try. Might as well make mistakes. Mistakes make you better. Mistakes help you learn. It's the hardest thing for perfectionistic people is they think that everything's got to be perfect, but it doesn't. Making those mistakes are going to help you along the way to make less problems in a certain area. You have to make mistakes if you want to grow, if you want to learn, if you want to get better. 17, I get better with time. Every single year, I think I'm at my peak, or I know everything that there is to know, or I got my shit together. And then as a year passes by, I look back at that previous year and I'm like, dude, you were motherfucking stupid. You didn't. I mean, I've always been mature. I've always had a good head on my shoulders. But you learn with age. Things get better as time goes on. So remind yourself that. Number 18, I want to move away from Iowa at some point. I've lived in Iowa ever since I was 3 years old. I was born in Arizona, lived there for 3 years, and then came here. So I don't know what it's like to be outside of this state. I'm still living in the town that we moved to when I was 3. And so I went to the high school here, graduated from high school in Indianola. And then I went to college. I did DMAC for a little bit, which is a community college up in Des Moines, which is, only like 15, 20, 30 minutes away from here. And then I transferred to Simpson, which is a college here in town, a private college. And then I went to Iowa State for 3 months up in Ames, which is an hour from Indianola. And then I came back to Simpson and I graduated, and my apartment is here. So I have never truly left, and that's just a goal of mine. That's something that I want to do, because I feel like you have to go out. You have to go live somewhere else where you didn't grow up, to get a different perspective, to grow, to change, to learn. Kind of all these similar themes that I've been talking about for this entire video. Number 19, Rushing only complicates things. Oh my God, this is a big one. And this is one that I just recently have been going through in my relationship. And really, man, rushing into any situation, not even that you're not ready for it, like you may be ready to tackle on a new relationship or a new challenge, but I think it's always a good idea to kind of ease yourself into it. At least that's how it's been for me. um I think the easiest time that I've had in any of my past relationships or girls that I was talking to. So the last girl that I was talking to before I got into the relationship that I'm currently in, I was talking to this girl for 2 months, and we weren't even dating at 2 months. And I think it was the best way for me to approach talking to someone new or potentially looking at a relationship, because if you're talking to somebody for 2 months, you're not having sex with them and putting those emotional lust glasses on. You really get to see who that person is, but you have enough distance from the emotional coloring that can be put over the relationship. Like, you don't get too attached to that person when you're not having sex with them. You can really see them for who they are and get an accurate assessment of what you like about them and what makes you come back. So it was interesting. So the last girl that I was talking to before I got into the relationship that I'm currently in, I it wasn't until about a month and 3 weeks into us talking that was finally the point when I realized that I really liked her and I wanted to be in a relationship with her. And what was so odd and complex and hard about that situation is once we hit the 2 months of talking, that's when she up and left. And she said that she had too many things going on with school and that she wasn't emotionally available. But it was probably the healthiest, because we weren't dating, so I can't say relationship, but the healthiest interaction that I've had with a girl that I was trying to pursue is like, we took our time. There wasn't expectations. We let things naturally develop, and I never felt pressure against myself. I think rushing into things only complicates them and puts so much pressure on both parties. And that's kind of what I've been struggling with in this current relationship that I'm in, is I feel like we just went into it guns a-blazing, and not with ill intentions. I don't think it was a bad thing. I mean, obviously there was a connection there, like I felt a certain way about her, and that's why I wanted to be in the relationship with her. But I definitely could have been better about, slowing down a little bit and saying, hey, let's pump the brakes. Let's take it easy for a second. Let's get to know each other a little bit more. So yeah, it's just funny how that one pops up, and I've been going through that. Number 20. Mental health should be my number one priority at all times. It doesn't matter if you're in a relationship. It doesn't matter what you're doing in your life. You got to do everything in your fucking power to create the best scenario and situation for your mental health. Because if you don't have a good mental health, good relationship with your mental health, everything else will fall, man. Everything else will fall. Like, if you're good internally, mentally, dude, like, everything else is going to fall into place. And, don't be too hard on yourself when you struggle and you have setbacks, like in this relationship that I'm in right now. I've had a lot of setbacks, had a lot of triggers and trauma arrive from my past relationships. Even though this girl didn't do anything to me, she's not part of my past. She has no recollection other than what I've told her of my past. But don't beat yourself up, man. Setbacks are, I believe, tests to continue to grow and to continue to get better at dealing with your mental health. Sometimes you're going to struggle more than others. Over the last 2 or 3 weeks, I've struggled a lot more with overthinking, panic, and fear. And just recently, yesterday, I used the day to accept that and take some of that pressure off and let myself feel those things. Because a lot of times when we feel that way, we just try and ignore it or push it down. It doesn't work. So take care of your mental health. 21. Do what's right in front of you. Chop wood, carry water. I learned this from a book that is titled Chop Wood, Carry Water, and it's authored by Joshua Metcalf. And I would say this is probably one of the best books that I've ever read, and I got it gifted to me from my friend Alex Finero. Shout out to Alex Finero. I met him at the YMCA, and he gave me this book. It's very simple. It's a very short book. It's a very short read, but it's this kid that wanted to be this warrior, and he goes to train to be some sort of samurai warrior or whatever, or maybe it's archery. I can't actually remember entirely. But he has to work at being an archer for like 10 years, and they use this analogy of when you're planting a bamboo tree. It takes like 5 years after you've planted the seed in the ground for the roots to grow before then there's like this explosion and this bamboo tree comes up. Same thing with caterpillars turning into butterflies. You have to do shit consistently. You gotta chop wood, carry water. You gotta do what's right in front of you. You gotta do it every day. You gotta create Atomic Habits. That's the next book that I'm reading right now by James Clear. You want to do that shit every day, even if it's incremental changes. Making a 1% improvement each and every day will at some point lead to a fucking explosion, and it's going to be so beautiful, and you can't even realize it until you get there. 22. Time might be the greatest healing agent. I kind of already alluded to that when I said I get better with time. So maybe relating that to hard situations that you go through, relationships, breakups, stuff like that. You know, in the beginning when you're struggling, it's so fucking hard to envision a way out of it. But as time goes on, you get better at handling those things. So time is the greatest healing agent, and you got to be patient with yourself, as I said earlier. Number 23, I need to spend less time explaining myself to others. Man, this is a big one. I think, not to get on an ego or a high horse, I just consider myself very different from most people my age, most guys my age. And although it's good to have that, and I've seen other people that have recognized that in me, it makes it hard because I feel very different from people. It feels hard to connect with people that aren't on my wavelength. And so I do too much of explaining myself to other people, and I shouldn't have to do that, because if you just don't get it, or if we just don't vibe, or we just don't connect, it's like, okay, there's really no reason to continue explaining myself here. So like, that's just how it is sometimes. There's some people that you don't gel with, you don't vibe with, you don't like, and then you find your clique, you find your posse, and the people that understand you and get you and don't think that you're crazy, you know, those are the ones to appreciate, and it makes it even more meaningful when you find those people. So don't over explain yourself. I gotta get better at that. 24, don't give advice to people who aren't going to use it. This is a big one as well. If you're giving advice to people and they're not doing anything with it, and then they keep coming back and complaining to you, well, you're just wasting your breath. It's like over explaining yourself. Why are you doing that? I've learned this very recently. I would say in the last 6 months with situations that I've encountered, people that I've been around that, you know, constantly complain about what they're going through, but they don't do anything to change their situation. So when the topic comes up again, I'm just kind of like, I don't have anything to say to you because I've given you my best advice. And I always operate on this principle where I give people the benefit of the doubt when we have that first conversation. If it gets deep and they're asking for my advice, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, here's my advice on the situation. But if there's a pattern of like 2 or 3 times where we've talked about this thing and they're not making those changes and they're not doing those things, it's like, okay, well, then I'm not going to give you any advice because it's obviously not working and you're not taking it seriously. You just want to complain. So don't give advice to people who aren't going to use it. 25, the last one. Holy fuck, I feel like I've been talking for so fucking long here, but this will make for a good podcast and video. Don't be afraid to reach out to others for help. So many times in my mental health journey, I thought that I could take care of everything by myself. And, you know, I feel this, maybe not a strike to an ego, but maybe a strike to my pride if I had to reach out to my mom and, you know, go over there and talk to her, or my therapist. But what you need to realize, as I was saying on one of my earlier points, you don't want to complain too much, but you want to healthily vent. It is so good to have people that you trust, whether it be your friends or the relationship that you ultimately get into, having a good set of parents that are going to listen to you and allow you to be yourself and talk about those things. It's good to have all that. It's good to have all that support. And honestly, man, as one person, yes, you need to get independent and you need to get strong, but you cannot do everything in this life on your own. You need other people if you want to survive and have a good life. That's why, you know, most people get married. And, you know, I know that marriages have decreased over the last, I don't even know how many years, but you know, families aren't really working out at this point. People don't put an emphasis on that, but that's the reason why people typically get in relationships date, get married and have kids, man. It's for one, it provides so much meaning to your life. But if you have a partner, you have a spouse, you guys are on the same wavelength, you appreciate each other, you love each other, you accept each other. Having a person to tackle life with is a huge benefit and is going to help you out tremendously. Somebody that's going to sit there and listen to you talk about your problems but not have any judgment about it, man, like that is so powerful. So I will leave you guys with that point because I don't need to do any more over explaining, as I said in one of my points. But I just thought it'd be a really cool video. I don't even know how long I've been recording for now. It's been at least like 30 minutes, so it is going to turn into somewhat of a podcast. But yeah, I just wanted to share with you guys my thoughts about 25 things that I've learned in the 25 years of living. I'm very excited to turn 25. I feel like I'm just getting started. I feel like there's a lot that I have yet to accomplish. And, you know, I feel like I'm on the precipice of figuring out what my true mission is in life, even despite all the setbacks and the hardships that I've had to go through. But guys, I love you. Thank you for showing up here. As always, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. Please like the video if you like the content. If there was something that you got from what I said that is valuable, that made you change your perspective or look at things differently, if you want to have a conversation with me, you know, just tell people, let them know like what I'm doing over here. Because again, I can only grow this show organically, and I'm trying to get the right type of people over here that want to have these open and honest discussions and want to learn and want to grow and to improve their situations that they're in right now. So I thank you for all the support, but please share the message of what I've talked about over here. If it resonated with you, if it helped you, if it improved you, if it made you mentally better, please share it. That's all I ask. So thank you guys. I will see you on the next video. I forgot to tell you as well, yeah, this video is getting released on my birthday tomorrow, but it's the 100th video of YouTube that I've ever put out on YouTube. So that's pretty fucking cool, man. I think that's a pretty big accomplishment, and that's something that I should relish in and enjoy and celebrate. So thank you guys. 100th, I'm about to say 100th episode. Well, I haven't always done episodes. It's the 100th video. Thank you guys for showing up, man. It means so much. I appreciate you guys. Love you. Take care.